Assalamu alaikum. Islam has organized all aspects of human lives. Poverty is one of that aspects. Poverty means there is a people who have lack of cash, food, house, and some of most essential elements of human lives. This problem happens when people stop sharing that elements. So there will be a lack for some groups of people. The stopping of sharing is a normal thing in light of this development in our world. Poverty is a global problem and the phenomenon is alarming in the world, including Muslim countries. So Islam came and found alternatives and ways to help society through Zakat and Sadaqah. What is Zakat and Sadaqah? Zakat is an estimated share of money imposed by God Almighty on those who deserve it in the Quran. And Sadaqah, all that is given to the needy in order to draw closer to God Almighty and to seek His consent and reward. While Zakat and Sadaqah are means achieving social solidarity and dealing with the problem of poverty, while in the Islamic countries there is a still big or large number of people, of poor people, the default on Zakat and Sadaqah system or the problem is how Muslims are dealing with these important concepts. How Zakat and Sadaqah will be more useful if we change the pathway to provide more essential requirements as education and healthcare instead of just giving the money to the poor people. In this video, we will have a look to some important questions on Zakat and how it's important and how it's related to alleviate the poverty problem. In our Islamic countries, what is the effect if it's applied well, and some of most important questions related with poverty and Zakat. So if you are ready, let's have a look.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Akbar, and for this part right here we will be discussing about why are there poverty despite Zakat, especially in Malaysia. So, a few days ago, the government announced that the new poverty line income was raised from 980 ringgit to 2000 ringgit plus. So what does it mean? It means that there are more people that will be categorized under the category for more people suffering poverty. Reviewed by the new poverty line income, there are now around 400,000 people that are under such category. So to answer the question why are there poverty despite Zakat, the first one is inefficiency. What do I mean by inefficiency? It means that Zakat payers pay the Zakat, but for some reason they are not reached to the ground level in the most effective way, in the most efficient way. Let me give you an example. As we know, Zakat distributions are done in the community by its authorities, but have you ever wondered about orang asli? Well, most of them still living not poverty, but extreme poverty, but most of them are not represented by any authorities, in which they don't have the best access for Zakat benefits. Of course, there are many other poor people other than orang asli that needs support, but we cannot just omit or forget about orang asli just because they are not represented by the authorities. So I think when there are a group of people, in this case orang asli, are forgotten, are not represented, that will lead to Zakat resources not being distributed evenly, in a sense that it reaches everyone that needs help, including orang asli. So heading on to the issue of inefficiency, where it doesn't reach the ground, another reason would be the bureaucracy problem, in which the process the application of getting the help, getting the Zakat is quite hard, which discourage people to apply for it. So bagi the government Zakat institution maybe improve the system, maybe ease the structure for people to apply. So for the second point, today Zakat is given in the form of cash or in the form of something perishable. In other words, it is a short-term solution. So when this happens, when short-term solutions are distributed to the poor people by the Zakat institution, what happens is they will use the money, for example, cash assistance to buy basic necessities, which is fine, but at the end, the process will be repeated. They said that the government give poor people money and then they use it and then the money is gone. Instead of investing into something that could possibly make the poor people life better, they just use it, consume the money to buy what they need. The solution to that is for Zakat institution to distribute the Zakat resources in a different form, say improve education by funding. This will be discussed further in the later section, which is about the solutions. So Zakat institution, the Zakat system, is a major player in maybe not eradicating poverty, but definitely reducing poverty, which is also the SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals. In conclusion, Islam is really the way of life in the sense that it takes into account about poverty as well. And with the Zakat system, it is meant to reduce poverty. Thank you.
In today's world, poverty is still a primary factor. Several reasons can explain why there is so much poverty. The global poverty can end by identifying why it is causing poverty in a particular community and then determine what needs to change, because poverty looks different in various places and is caused by different factors. But do we talk about abuse on the social help given? The distribution of Zakat and Sadaqah are specifically for the poor, the needy, the debtors, to help eradicate poverty in the world. All who are in need are welcome to participate in the distribution, whether it is food, money, or something else. However, some allow themselves to abuse the help given to them by always asking after their condition has improved. Some poor have the moral values of honesty, sincerity, always grateful for the little we give them, while others are not sufficient on their own. They do not want to regain their autonomy or even commit to leading their own life. They use the resources that the poor could benefit from for their need to make it theirs. They don't want this help to end. Considering the proportion of people at risk of poverty in the current year who were in the same situation in 2 of the previous 3 years, these inequities restrict access to social service that could help people overcome poverty. And the longer this continues, the more the number of poor increases and the financial benefits decrease. The desired outcomes might be the same for many communities, but the path to get there depends on the context and the resources available. More than 1 billion people have been lifted out of extreme poverty by more than half with the contribution of Zakat. The world has made progress in reducing poverty, but still the factors are present. Moreover, with this new pandemic, the progress has declined sharply. The coronavirus could push up to 400 million people in extreme poverty as living on less than $1.90. The crisis is looking like a long crisis, and if it's so, it will have repercussions on the economy and on global poverty for years to come.
Assalamualaikum. A question arises. Does the current practice of zakat distribution in Malaysia is effective enough in alleviating poverty among the poor Muslim population in Malaysia? So I'm going to show you the analysis on the zakat distribution in Malaysia. So to begin with, Malaysia's federal structure assigns the administration of zakat and of fees at the state level, and then in each state, collected funds are forwarded to the Zakat office for disbursement. An example of how the Zakat office in Akbar disbursed its proceeds in 1970, according to its own official report, was as follows. Of the total, 52% went toward commendable measures, which generally means religious education, 6% to people making a pilgrimage to Mecca, 2% to converts, 22% as commission to the Zakat collectors and central administration, leaving a mere 15% for the poor. This is according to Quran 2010. About the same period in release, close to 12% of the annual Zakat revenue went to the poor, while the lion's share being set aside for Zakat officials, like the Ustaz and students of Islamic schools and pilgrims. The amount given to the indigent were minuscule. Some are now advocating a drastic reorientation of expenditures toward rehabilitation. One proposal is to use Zakat funds for providing the very poor with resources to start their own business. And another, in order to suit modern needs, one more item under the recipients list, which those trapped in prostitution, has been proposed to be included. So in short, by successfully raising its yield alone is insufficient to guarantee that the distribution side is well looked after. Therefore, coupled with the increase in the collection side, there is also a need to increase the share of the proceeds channeled to the poor. The latter objectives requires the establishment of social and legal sanctions to check any diversion of funds away from the disabled poor, who in the context of Malaysia fall into three different groups, known as low-income households. So the three different groups were, the first one is extreme poor, which is fakir. So this group of people is defined as one who has no poverty whatsoever. They are poor and penniless. And the second group is poor, which is miskin. According to Hughes 1985, he defined these as people with property below the nisab threshold. And the last group, which is the one with low income. So to be concise, the fakir and miskin include anyone who is in need of financial or material assistance, which of course include also the prescribed beneficiaries as dictated by the authoritative governmental and non-governmental agencies that deal with the welfare of people. And as we know, Zakat institutions are just like other Islamic organizations where they are expected to play a significant role in alleviating poverty. Zakat institutions are capable of carrying out this duty given to the awareness of paying Zakat among the Muslims has increased. So the total collection of Zakat in 40 states in Malaysia shows an impressive increase of 193% over 7 years. So this remarkable growth in Zakat collection can be attributed to, among other things, so the initiatives or efforts taken by Zakat authority to professionally manage Zakat institutions. Alright, so next I'm going to show you the statistic that shows a gap between the collection and distribution of Zakat funds in Malaysia. So the persistence in the gap between Zakat collection and distributions in Malaysia could also be due to several other factors, where according to Mohamed et al. 2011, one of the main reasons given by Zakat institution in explaining the gap between Zakat funds collected and distributed was the practice of paying Zakat at the end of the year. As much as 50% of Zakat fund was paid in the final weeks of the year. Understaffing, which too few staff is another factor reported by Zakat managers, affecting the task of distributing Zakat funds. So however, in the case of Pahang, the situation was quite unnatural, where in all observation years the amount of Zakat disbursed was far below the amount collected. Hence, it would be intriguing to conduct an in-depth study to understand why this had taken place in Pahang for 6 consecutive years. Our conjecture would be as follows. The first one, no qualified recipients. The second one, the update on the availability of the Zakat fund was not well informed to the board. The third one, which is understaffed. The fourth one is the funds were used to cover administration costs. And the last one is the funds were dispersed to non-eligible Zakat recipients. To sum up, in terms of the distribution of Zakat, the analysis shows that there is persistent gap between the collection and distribution of Zakat funds in Malaysia, except for a few states. So if the gap exists because of the practice of paying zakat by the zakat payers at the end of the year, zakat institutions should develop a mechanism to distribute this large expected unspent amount at the end of the year. Alternatively, the zakat institution can delay the distribution of zakat until the next haul, since the scholars of Maliki allows a delay if it deems it to be advantageous to the ummah. So however, efforts must be done to make sure zakat collected in a particular year is fully distributed in the current year.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Wan Alif Haikal Mewaruzani, and I will discuss about did the Muslim have a good understanding about Zakat and Sadaqah. As we know, poverty is a significant issue in a dominant part of Muslim nations, especially in Malaysia. The lesson of Islam through the Holy Quran and the Hadith weighs on the criticalness of Zakat and Sadaqah as a social device to connect the contrast between the rich and poor Muslim. Zakat and Sadaqah saw in this setting can play a significant job in Muslim socio-economic development if it is managed properly. So, we as a Muslim need to really have a good understanding about Zakat and Sadaqah and its benefits to help the others. Zakat is one of 5 basic ideas in Islam, also referred to as the 5 pillars of Islam. All things considered, it is a mandatory act that all Muslims must perform this obligation if they meet certain conditions. The idea of zakat is to refine one's riches and soul. Every one of those Muslims whose saving meet or surpass nisab values are committed to pay 2.5% of their all-out yearly investment fund to poor people and for the welfare of the Muslim community. Zakat is determined dependent on total savings during one lunar year. Indeed, even things like gold and jewelry fall under zakat capable things and their value is considered during the estimation. For the sadaqah, it is purely voluntary. It very well may be given whenever to anybody and it tends to be any sum or anything including a material item. All things considered, there is a huge measure of adaptability here. Anybody can get it. However, the thought is to offer sadaqah to the individual who genuinely need it. This is an act done purely to earn blessing of Allah and to help others. Sadaqah also can be any money related sum anyway, it isn't constrained to that. Food a person, clothing garment, any sort of family unit frill work completely fine too. In fact, when it comes to relief aid efforts, such items are often desired and eagerly sought. For the conclusion, Sadaqah in Malaysia has been a tradition in which we could see such actions implied on a daily basis. Presumably, Muslims here may have general understanding of importance of Zakah, which is already enough, which is sharing your wealth willingly for the sake of obtaining Allah's blessing. But Zakat is probably where the understanding of it is questionable, especially for the youth. So, they may lack the knowledge for a proper understanding of Zakat. Even in schools up to secondary level, they only taught the student about the importance of zakat, also the only basic of it. So, we need to make sure all Muslims need to understand every detail of the importance of zakat and sadaqah and its benefit to the others and for us in the world and in the hereafter. So, that's all for me. Thank you.
Importance of zakah. Zakah has many benefits. It is good for the giver and also for the beneficiary. The benefits of zakat can also be enjoyed by individuals and the community. Among the benefits are the practice of zakat can be generous and like to perform ibadah. The practice can also get rid of stinginess and stingy elements. This fact can be felt by the zakat giver, and he also realized that the zakat is more significant to the addition of property than reducing it. In addition, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala give a great reward for issuing property solely for His pleasure. Zakat can strengthen the brotherhood and love between zakat giver and others. When this awareness exists in society, every Muslim is able to fulfill the obligation to pay zakat to those who are entitled to receive it. It can be seen how close the bond of love between individuals among Muslims and society as a whole. Moreover, zakat plays a role in ensuring that a member of the community becomes more perfect. Even so, there are various situations and elements that widen the gap in social status differences and increase the number of people in need as well as the poor. Zakat serves to protect society from significant social status gaps. Zakat plays an important role in tackling the problem of unemployment. Among the main causes that contribute to unemployment is poverty. Poor people do not have the minimum capital to run a company or job. Therefore, if the zakat system runs according to its right, of course the poor are entitled to receive their share and allow them to run the planned enterprise in according with the skills and qualification they have. Furthermore, zakat is a way that can cleanse the heart from the vile traits that affect society, namely the nature of revenge, envy, and jealousy. This is based on the word of Allah SWT in the Quran said, "Take part of the property as alms, zakat, so that with you cleanse them from sin and purify them from bad morals." Surah At-Tawbah verse 103. Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu explained that every word sadaqah in the Quran is more of the whole understood with the meaning of obligatory zakat. Hopefully, we understand the wisdom and secret of zakat legislation, make us understand the meaning of zakat and the benefits.
So, as we have already discussed about the arising problems in poverty, what are the solutions that could eradicate poverty? So, based on Ahmad, a book he wrote in the year 2004, he mentioned that there are 4 main poverty alleviation methods, 2 from the macro level and another 2 from the micro level. So, first, from the macro level, it focuses on policies that impact economic development. For instance, a policy that governs human capital, such as increase in jobs opportunity. Next one, which is policies that focus on the allocation of wealth and resources. For example, increase in income equality and provide more training, increase investments in basic health and education. Moving on to the micro level, it focuses on solving the causes of poverty, which means it concerns on productive households which lack the means and resources to earn sufficient income. Next, from the micro level, it focuses on the family's division in resources and entitlements. So these are the 4 main poverty alleviation methods that have been mentioned by Ahmad in the book he wrote. Based on Surah Al-Baqarah verse 261, it explains that those people who spend money in the way of Allah in a hidden or explicit manner will receive great reward from Allah. In the light of the mentioned Quran verse, it is clear that Islam aims and aspires to create a certain ideology which dictates that a person should not just live focusing only on his own needs and wants. On the contrary, a person should think as a member of society where many needy, homeless and poor people may require our help. In this way, Islam promotes feelings of brotherhood and societal collective thinking. Zakat management should be improved, especially on the distribution part. Policies should be amended to further strengthen in making sure the distribution of zakat is well managed and arrive to the recipients accordingly. Apart from that, programs such as training and education should be offered to those needy people. This could help them for a long-term breakout from poverty. Skills and education could be beneficial for them to get a job in the future. Hence, not only financial resources are needed to put poverty to an end, but physical resources are needed as well. Although it is difficult to stop poverty, but it is possible to slowly do so, inshallah.
To achieve the objective of effective poverty alleviation using the instrument of zakat and wakaf, we need to understand the meaning of poverty. From Islamic perspective, the concept of poverty and richness in Islam need to be spiritually and worldly balanced. The viewpoint is on how Sharia treats poverty based on Al-Quran and Sunnah. First of all, Muslims are urged to work hard for their livings and meet their needs. It can be deduced from the verse of Surah Al-Jumu'ah in Quran that state, "And when the prayer has been concluded, disperse within the land and seek from the bounty of Allah, and remember Allah often, that you may succeed." Quran Surah Al-Jumu'ah verse 10. Secondly, Islam discourages extreme income inequality and poverty. However, encourage institute social support mechanism for the deprived. Safwan ibn Salim related that the Prophet said, "Anyone who looks after and works for a widow and a poor person is like a warrior fighting for Allah's cause, or like a person who fasts during the day and pray all night." From Bukhari. This support system mechanism express themselves as the institution of zakat and various charitable acts such as wakaf. The view from Islamic scholars are poverty is perceived as a negative nature that implicates negative outcomes to individual, society and countries. Poverty also being said can cause incompetence and dependence on others. To resist such an unfortunate nature and consequences of poverty, scholars push a solid thought that poverty must be taken care, hindered, and battled. Meeting the basic needs of the poor is the shared responsibility of a Muslim society called as fardu kifayah. Overall, poverty is a serious problem in the majority of countries. Therefore, zakat and wakaf institutions in Muslim countries are needed in overcoming the problem but also eradicating poverty. The existing instruments need to be improved so that the distribution of funds can be effectively used to help the poor and eliminate poverty.
In conclusion, poverty is one of the social problems experienced by ancient and modern people. It was reported from our master, Umar ibn al-Khattab, may God bless him, that he said, "Wallahi, if poverty was a man, I would like to kill him." That's because of poverty have many damages for individuals and the whole society, like increased percentage of problems such as unemployment, illiteracy, and ignorance, increased theft and burglary to fulfill even simple needs, negative feelings and mental disorders such as permanent tension, anxiety, depression, and stress, and many of the other damages. So, through the Zakat and Sadaqah, Islam is alleviating the poverty and also alleviating the damages. Finally, it's said that during the time of Khalifa Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he used to say, "Spread out the grains on the top of the mountain, so no one can say there is a hungry bird in the Islamic countries." And that's happened because he just rearranged Zakat and Sadaqah. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Assalamu alaikum.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ya Rahman irham ضعفنا. Ya Latif, ultuf bina. يا لطيف ألطف بنا ألطف بنا